Rick, why do people freak out so much about money? It's just numbers on a screen.
Morty, those are just numbers on a screen. That's the problem. Your brain thinks 0 means extinction. There's this threshold, Morty. Before it, every decision is panic-driven. After it, you stop reacting and start thinking. You realize the system is kind of a joke, but once you hit that number, you're finally not the punchline anymore.
So, money does change people?
No, Morty. It changes the mode they're operating in. Huge difference. Look, Morty, sit down and stop drooling on my workbench because I'm going to explain something that your tiny brain probably won't be able to fully process, but we're going to try anyway. You know what money is, Morty? Of course you don't. You can barely understand basic math. But I'm gonna tell you a secret of the universe that none of those idiots at your school or those Instagram gurus are gonna explain to you because they're too stupid to understand. There's a magic number, Morty, a tipping point in the financial cosmos where everything changes, and that number isn't $1 million like everyone thinks. It's not 10 million, it's not the 6 figures your dad dreams of having in his bank account while he sells advertising for toilet brushes. The number is $20,000. Morty, $20,000. I know what you're thinking with that little pea brain of yours. You're thinking, wow, Rick, 20,000 isn't much. It barely buys a used car that doesn't look like it was driven by a serial killer. And you're right, Morty. 20,000 doesn't make you rich, doesn't put you on a yacht, doesn't make you swim in money like Scrooge McDuck. But you know what it does? It completely changes the way your evolved monkey brain processes financial reality. You humans, you're basically programmed to live in constant panic mode when you don't have money saved. It's like defective firmware that came from the factory back in the African savannah when you were still running from lions and eating rotten fruit. When you have nothing saved, when you live paycheck to paycheck like 90% of these imbeciles around you, your brain is in a constant state of survival. Every decision you make is contaminated by fear, every choice is reactive, every move is desperate. You're not playing chess, Morty. You're playing that stupid game of whack-a-mole, you know it? Of course you know it, you're probably terrible at it too. Let me explain something to you about human psychology that's so obvious it's embarrassing. But when you hit $20,000 saved, something bizarre happens in your brain. It's not magic, Morty. It's basic neuroscience mixed with behavioral economics and a pinch of brain chemistry that I could explain but you'd pass out halfway through. Basically, your prefrontal cortex finally gets to function properly because it's no longer being hijacked by your amygdala, screaming, red alert, we're all gonna starve to death. Suddenly you stop making idiotic decisions motivated by panic. That job you hate, you can think strategically about leaving it instead of being stuck because you're afraid of being 2 weeks without a salary. That course that could give you a better skill, you can invest in it because you're not panicking thinking, what if my car breaks down next week? It's like someone finally took a blindfold off your eyes and you realize there's a game happening and you can actually play instead of just getting beaten up. And there's more, Morty. Pay attention because this part is important even for your limited IQ. Everyone keeps talking about compound interest like it's the 8th wonder of the world, that magic formula where money makes money that makes more money and blah, blah, blah. But you know what the truth is that nobody tells you? Compound interest means absolutely nothing when you have $50 in savings. 8% of $50 is $4. Morty, $4 you can't even buy a combo at McDonald's with that. But 8% of $20,000 is $1,600 a year. Suddenly the money isn't just sitting there being useless, it's working. It's generating more money while you sleep, while you're at school pretending to pay attention in class, while you're having your adolescent existential panic attacks. Money finally becomes a tool instead of being a constant source of anxiety and terror. Here's another thing that's gonna fry your neurons. Before this tipping point, money is a constant threat. It's like a monster under the bed that never goes away. You wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it. Every bank notification makes your heart race. After 20,000, money stops being the monster and becomes a tool. You no longer get that tightness in your chest every time you think about finances. You can look at your bank account without wanting to cry or punch a wall. It's liberating, Morty. It's like finally being able to breathe after spending years underwater. And don't come to me with this story of, oh, Rick, but 20,000 is very hard to save. Of course it's hard. Idiot, everything worthwhile is hard. You think building an interdimensional portal was easy? You think I woke up one day and knew how to manipulate quantum physics? No, Morty. I worked, I sacrificed, I made choices, some of them terribly questionable. But that's not the point right now. The point is that most people never reach that 20,000. You know why? Because they're weak, they're impulsive, they're slaves to instant gratification. They save $1,000 and think they deserve a prize, so they go out and buy a new television or take a trip or spend it on some crap they'll forget about in 3 months. They never cross the threshold because they never endure being uncomfortable long enough. And here's the cruelest part of the financial universe, Morty. The part that really shows how the cosmos is indifferent to human suffering. The first 20,000 is absurdly harder to get than the next 80. Because when you have nothing, every dollar you try to save is ripped from you by some emergency, some unexpected bill, some random crisis that the universe throws in your face just to remind you that you're insignificant. But after you cross that threshold, after you have that safety cushion, it becomes exponentially easier to keep growing because you're no longer being hit by every little turbulence of life. You know what else changes, Morty? Your decisions stop being all about the short term. Before the threshold, you're thinking, how am I going to pay rent this month? How am I going to buy food next week? Which bill do I skip paying to be able to pay this other one? After the threshold, you start thinking in terms of years, decades, building something that actually matters instead of just not dying today. It's the difference between being a cockroach running from light and being a functional human being with planning capacity. And look, I've traveled through infinite universes, Morty. I've seen versions of you who achieved this and versions who didn't. And let me tell you, the difference is abysmal. The Morty who manages to save 20,000 becomes a completely different person. He walks differently, talks differently, makes different decisions. He stops being a reactive slave to circumstances and starts actively shaping his own reality. Not because $20,000 give you superpowers, but because they finally take that crushing weight of constant survival off your back. So here's my cosmic wisdom for you, Morty, summarized in a way that even your brain can understand. Forget the millions for now. Forget getting rich. Forget these idiotic fantasies. Focus on getting to that 20,000, save, sacrifice, make hard choices, endure the discomfort. Because when you cross that invisible threshold, when you look at your account and see those 5 digits there, something will change inside you. You'll feel it. And then, Morty, then you'll finally understand that the game was never about having $1 million. The game was always about escaping survival mode and starting to actually live. Now get up from there and go do something productive and stop wasting my time with your existential doubts about allowance.